Markets appear to be pricing in a Trump landslide victory. Welcome to the Daily. My name's Jessica Ramir, a market strategist with Mumu. Well, global stocks are moving higher along with metal and energy commodities, all marching up after Joe Rogan endorsed Donald Trump following Elon Musk's interview. We've seen the Bitcoin price rise almost 4%. The US dollar is lower, and because the US dollar is lower, G10 currencies are moving on up. The S&P 500 rose 1.2% with all sectors in the green. The tech-heavy Nasdaq and consumer discretionary up the most. The Nasdaq 100 was a standout, up 1.7%. Higher, while Nvidia shares led the charge. Their shares rose 2.8% as it once again overtook Apple as the world's biggest company. The volatility index, meanwhile, the market's fear gauge, we've been watching that fell back down to 4-week low territory. So it's looking good for markets. Meanwhile, we have seen a lot of volatility in the Trump trading proxy Trump media shares. Their shares were up 10%. Up 1 point before they were halted several times again like they were on Friday. But their shares ultimately closed about 1% lower. That's DJT. Punters have continued to bet on a Trump win. Betting sites are now paying $1.53 to the dollar for a Trump win and $2.50 for a Kamala Harris win. Still, the race could be anyone's. Polls still are suggesting that Kamala has got the popularity vote, but markets won't have to hold their breath for much longer. Voting closes 11 p.m. Eastern time. That's in Washington. That's 3 p.m. City time today. Regardless of who wins, markets do believe that Nvidia will continue to dominate. And indeed, as we covered, that has become the world's biggest company again. It's now got a $3.42 trillion market valuation. That's, of course, in US dollars. Now, Nvidia has been trading places with Apple as the world's biggest company, but ultimately their shares have gained $167 billion in market value since October. And that's a very big contrast to what Apple has lost in $91 billion over the same period. Ultimately, what does this reflect? Well, Nvidia is possibly going to reap billions of dollars in new AI technology and infrastructure spending, including from Mag 7 companies who reported last week. In particular, Microsoft announced plans to spend $200 billion this year on AI infrastructure, and Amazon CEO Andy Jassy last week called generative AI a once-in-a-lifetime investing opportunity. Meanwhile, what to watch down under? Well, the Aussie stock market earlier, if we looked at the futures, were suggesting a positive day of trade. The futures were hinting of a gain of 0.8%. That should take the market back to 8,208. That means our market could be trading back at October levels today. So we'll see how the trade continues to go throughout the session. Key focus will be on commodities, copper in particular, because the copper price is at 1.3%, with demand for the king of the green metals expected to increase, with the Federal Reserve expected to cut interest rates later this week. Iron ore also in focus. That's because the iron ore price is now at 1% in 5 days. Last but not least, keep your eye on SMCI. Their shares have plunged over 15% after delivering a disappointing report card. And that's the Daily.